and welcome to the Face-to-Face with BioVoice News. I'm Rahul Koul, your host and Chief Editor of BioVoice News. Today on this show, we have Mr. Abhishek Mohan, Founder and Chief Executive Officer of HempStreet, India's first and leading medicinal cannabis research to retail venture. So before we begin this interaction with Abhishek, let me share a little background about his background. And Mr. Abhishek Mohan has been in the startup space for over 15 years now and has played a significant role in the growth of his startups. In 2019, Abhishek founded HempStreet with an aim to build a global institution in phytopharmaceutical R&D and medicine to tackle mass ailments such as chronic pain epidemic and to fight the looming opioid crisis in India. Prior to HempStreet, Abhishek has multiple international stints across Southeast Asia and was a co-founder at Technology 9 Labs. So 5 years down the line, Abhishek plans to take HempStreet's global footprint to 15 countries, having served at least 100 million patients. Abhishek holds a bachelor's degree in economics from St. Xavier's, Mumbai, and MBA from Asian Institute of Management, Philippines. A warm welcome to you, Abhishek. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Rahul. Thanks for having me. Very, very happy to be on the show. Thank you.
So without much ado, let me first, put you the first question. Please take us through your foundational story, which is behind HempStreet, and what is the idea, motivation, challenges, and how are you implementing your ideas?
So essentially, HempStreet was a result of our knowledge of the chronic pain scenario in India, also the looming opioid crisis in North India and quite a bit in the South. We saw the opioid crisis in the US and we saw the devastating effect it had. But the underlying issue was, again, chronic pain, that people took opioids because they had to deal with pain. And India is now at that same issue. And we've seen from international experience that cannabis helps to alleviate. So, I mean, many of the cases where opioids were prescribed, cannabis was able to solve that pain problem. We also understood that Ayurveda has one of the oldest pharmacopoeia in cannabis. So we put these two together and focused on the patient. So we didn't care that we won the cannabis industry. We didn't care that we needed to get cannabis to come to the forefront. We went to solve problems. So we spoke with Ayurveda doctors across India. We went out to solve. If you look at us, we have just 3 products today because we go after mass ailments to solve. So we don't care so much about even our products. We care about the fact that they solve a certain underlying issue. So if you look at that, that's in the DNA of our company. Everything we do is geared towards the patient, which is the safest way to get to the patient. So we built a tracking system to make sure that the doctors are not police, but make sure that we track end to end where the cannabis is going, because it's a Schedule E1 product that's regulated. What products are we launching? We're not launching general pain. We're launching very specific for specific ailments, like which have over 100 million people suffering that haven't really been helped. So I think our philosophy was to solve mass ailments in India, and everything we've done, whether it's tracking, whether it's the fact that we don't sell online, we don't do e-prescription, we want to provide the best solution in every way. It's very hard to do, but we set out to do it and we've done pretty well.
Thank you, Abhishek. Why do you call yourself India's first research to retail venture in the medicinal cannabis sector? And what is your business model and who are the investors?
So basically, we are the first of our scale in what we're doing. We essentially realized that to build this ecosystem that we're trying to build where patients receive solutions for their chronic pain and various other ailments, we had to build everything from scratch, whether it's a research part where we're partnered with CSIR and now we've signed up a partnership with Gyneka in Israel. So whatever ailments we choose, we want to bring the power of the world to solve them, not just in India, but abroad. So we've tied up with MGC because they have a clinically successful long COVID recovery. So that's a mass ailment. Gyneka is working on women-specific cannabinoid research. So we want to be the best at it because it's a brand new industry. Nobody else has built world-class, parts of it. So we realized, can we follow the same ecosystem or should we build everything from scratch? So in fact, we have built either through partnerships or by ourselves a world-class section in everything, whether it comes to manufacturing. We own the shop floor. We control QA right from the raw material and everything. We do all the tests that are not even required by the government. We do tests that even the US doesn't require to make sure the patients get the best product. We transport it with the blockchain technology, which today we're the biggest in the world. We didn't have to do it, but we did it because we want to be world class. And in the end, we only sell through doctors. We do not sell online. We don't do e-prescriptions because those can be abused, right? I mean, end of the day, e-prescription, so you can have एक doctor ऐसे दबा के, it'll be fine. The idea is we also want to revive Ayurveda. So we got into this industry saying, we will bring this whole thing to the 21st century. So in what we're doing, we are the first and by far the largest.
Right, right. So what are your product offerings and what is the process of validation by the regulatory authorities? Which are the regulatory authorities in this case?
So basically, you have the excise department that controls all the raw material because it's a controlled substance. We have the various state bodies that control manufacturing, that control, regulate. We have the Ayush Ministry that has control over all your approved products. Then we will be announcing a few clinical trials that we're doing because it's a classical Ayurveda formulation. Technically, we do not need to do clinical trials, but we are making sure that clinical validation also happens. We have collected data from thousands of women, and we have data on the efficacy of the products. We are also, so those are the main Ayurvedic products that we have, but we're also developing a transdermal delivery mechanism along with CSIR, for which we have won the BIRAC biotech grant. That will go through the Western style clinical trial model. So we're doing release studies, and that will be for the global market. So it'll be just like pharma. So depending on which product, we take it to the limit in terms of whatever regulatory, because the moment one corner is cut, it establishes the whole industry to be a corner cutter. And we don't want to do that, because the moment that happens, regulatory will be like, yeah, these guys are just trying to take advantage of Ayurveda. They're trying to sell cannabis, basically. Let's shut them down. But if you want to be a world player, we have to do the extra mile, even if it's painful.
Right, right. So could you please tell us more about this project, which is being funded by BIRAC, and which institution within the CSIR are you collaborating with?
So we're collaborating with CSIR-IIIM in Jammu.
Okay.
And excellent organization. We worked with them for a couple of years. We were incubated there, and we're developing a transdermal patch. I mean, we're working on the patenting right now, so it'll be the first of its kind in the world. And it's amazing that this comes out of India, from a small company like us, in an industry that is so young. So I think that's our moment of pride, and we're hoping to take it to the light of day. So I can't disclose too much, but it's a revolutionary kind of transdermal patch for pain for CBD.
Sure. And despite a strong religious and cultural connection, cannabis has been mostly looked at suspiciously, in our society. And fortunately or unfortunately, with medical cannabis coming into the picture, has anything changed now? I mean, in terms of how perception has been.
Absolutely. So there's a very interesting dynamic of us Indians, right? So essentially, after the NDPS Act in 1985, if my mother saw a picture of cannabis, she would probably call the police or whatever. She would freak out. But when they go to a doctor, if the doctor says this is a medicine for you, like how many of us read? I do, but how many of us read the details of the antibiotics that doctors give us, or the steroids the doctor give us, or whatever? We don't. We trust the doctor. The same thing is the case with an Ayurveda doctor, and the same thing is the case with cannabis-based medication. While people don't recreationally, everybody's very afraid, and like rightly so. I mean, it's illegal. But on medicinal level, the doctors have not faced any hindrance, right? I mean, that was the first year and a half. They just needed to know, is this Abhishek Mohan guy, is he a drug dealer, or is he committed to these things? So it took us a year to basically convince them that GMP facility hai, Ayurveda mein hai, standardized manufacturing hai, controlled supply chain hai. Also, we had to tell them, aap bina prescription ke bech longe, so we'll know. And when we know, we will report you. Because we track everything, hame pata chalta hai. So right up to telling the doctors that this thing is, we took that entire step over here. So doctors believe so between us, they have been prescribing cannabis crushed up, in a very bad supply chain since even after 85, because they were not banned. So they believe in cannabis because the absorption of medicine, cannabis allows for the faster absorption of medicine. It allows to reduce anxiety. It allows to reduce inflammation. What's a sabko pata hai? So the doctors have been prescribing, but we came in and we gave them a standardized product for specific ailments so that they don't have to worry about ratios, sourcing. We took, like I said, we have not invented these tricks products. Nobody can tell me that, I would love to take credit for Talakabhi Jabati and everything, but we were the first to identify this formulation within Ayurveda, manufacture in GMP. And today we have, obviously we've shipped over 35 to 40 lakh doses of that product. So we basically had to, the patient has 100% trust in the doctor, because the Ayurveda doctor is like a wise uncle, right? His dad must have taken care of your dad. He's taking care of you. You take if your children are not eating properly, you take him to shikayat karne, you take him to the Ayurveda doctor, because he's like a village uncle,
Right.
but a doctor. So as a result, his reputation is very important to him, and people consume what he gives. So that's why we haven't had the recreational ka jo wall hai, we have not faced in medical.
Mm-hmm. So what is the acceptability ratio among, particularly among allopathic doctors? I mean, do they accept it as a medicine, for patients?
So we've done a clinical trial, which we will publish soon, where it was used after anorectal surgery. See, allopathy doctors 100% want to use cannabis. They've seen what's happening in the West, right? So they want to use cannabis. They understand that, these opioids are an overkill. You have a back pain, you take an opioid, you're basically out of it. Yeah, you don't. The idea is pain is something to be managed, not to be forgotten, right? Otherwise, you can't. The thing about Ayurveda is you can't break something to make something, right? You have to body balance. So yeah, allopathy doctors are using our product. We have some cancer centers that are using our product. So definitely they are very keen, which is why we're moving towards clinical validation, because that is for pharma, that's an essential, right? I mean, while one of the things we're trying to do is let everybody know that the future is integrative. It's not Ayurveda or hum or wo. It's not that. It's integrative. There are some things that allopathy is fantastic at. There are some things that Ayurveda is amazing at, which is sustainable, plant-based, long-term. That Ayurveda owns. But surgery and all that stuff, yeah, allopathy has. We have to do what's best for the patient. Let the doctors not fight each other. Right. Let the patient decide. It's what is best for the patient at that particular time.
Right. So the common complaint has been that Ayurveda does not involve the large scale clinical trials. Validation does not happen, and since you are slowly moving into the clinical trials also. So would you elaborate a little bit about I'm not sure whether you will be able to reveal all the details, but a little bit about how do you plan to do these clinical trials, and which locations, and are you also collaborating with some institutions?
Yeah, so we're collaborating we've signed an agreement, one of the biggest Ayurveda institutions, I would say General Medical. We will announce it with kind of under NDA. We will announce it in the next week or so, but it's a very well-known name. So we're planning to start one clinical trial very soon. The second one, we worked with a group of piles doctors in Western India, and we're in the process of publishing that. Then we've tied up with Gyneka in Israel. Whereas, see, the idea is Ayurveda in India, we keep talking about Ayurveda saying, yeah, this, that. In Israel, they love it. They're basically saying, why? I mean, on cannabis, for example, I'll give you an idea. One of our products, essentially for menstrual cramps, right? It helps women, it has less than 5 mg of major cannabinoids. We can't break it down because that's not required. But, we don't also isolate. But it solves, within 20 minutes, the menstrual cramps come to a manageable level. And they take the pills for 3 days, maybe, and, during the highest pain. In one of the biggest cannabis companies in the world, they did a clinical trial with CBD only, and they were dosing women with between 160 to 320 mg twice a day. They will fall asleep. That's not the idea, right? So then we realized that Ayurveda mein kuch hai. Maybe polyherbal in small quantities is the answer, because when the bamboo silicate in our product interacts with the THC, interacts with cannabis, it creates an anti-inflammatory effect. So all I need to do is this jo humko pata hai, this works. We just need to take it to clinical validation, which is why we've tied up in Israel to jointly formulate products based on a mix of high tech and Ayurveda.
What is the current medical cannabis market size in India, and who are your clients, and what is your market share?
So today we work with doctors only, right? So if you look at pain alone, see, I wouldn't look at medical cannabis because we are only limited by our own reach. Like, for example, our latest product, we sold more than we could sample. So more than we could give free, we have sold, because it's just that the demand. See, as HempStreet, cannabis is not our business. Our business is to solve mass ailments. Cannabis happens to be the best solution today. Kal agar banana works better, I'll do banana extract. So we're a phytopharmaceutical company. Whereas we found that in Ayurveda and cannabis, the solutions to these mass ailments are happening. So for example, we had 1,000 clinic partners with our product on shelf. 13 months ago. Today we have 10,300. So doctors took some time and then it shot up. We had shipped maybe 10,000 doses in the first 5 months. Now we've shipped almost 4 million. So the idea is the education is happening among the doctors because patients are not choosing, patients are going to doctors with ailments and doctors are prescribing. So as doctors get more and more educated, like we have just, I know to give you an idea, our head count was 36 people 12 months ago. Today it's 148. So clearly we're growing extremely fast. The industry, while on paper is small, the potential is massive because you're not going after trying to sell cannabis to end consumers. That will be super hard and kind of illegal, I would say. You're going after solving chronic pain, menstrual cramps, 158 million women, menstrual cramps. And the prices that we're going out at are I mean, less than what 10, 40, 18 rupees a tablet. It's not like, it's cheap. It's not like 5,000 rupees for, oil or whatever. It's 18 rupees a tablet. So the cost is not a factor. So the market size, I would say, would be at least $1 billion from purely chronic pain and menstrual cramps, because you're replacing or you're stepping into a place where nothing was available. Like women were taking, I can't tell you the names because I'll get sued, but and we've grown to 148, but my legal team is still very small. So basically, women were taking a mix and match of random painkillers, to manage their menstrual cramps. Why 158 million women? 355 million women suffer from menstrual cramps. 158 million women suffer from massive menstrual cramps, but they cannot go to work, all this stuff. And if they take these random pills during your period, which you end up taking 4,000 pills in your life, if it's going to screw your kidney, if it's going to mess up your kidney, you might have to edit that, mess up your kidney, then what's the point? How come they don't have their own product? Which is why we started. So we started with a market size of 0 because there was no product. Today we've shipped 4 million doses. So clearly, it's not about what is the current market size, it's about serving a market need. And I would say it's in the multiples of billions. If you look at all the avenues, gut health, chronic pain, menstrual cramps, it's a massive, massive opportunity.
Right. So do you also plan to go into hardcore research, from Ayurveda to, let's say, biotechnology introduced processes? So is there a possibility of developing, cannabis-based biopharma products in India?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But unfortunately, not for the local market, right? Because it's illegal. So the transdermal patch that we're developing, unfortunately, but it's amazing that we got a grant from the central government for a product that is potentially illegal in India because they're fostering biotechnology for the world. So we are 100% committed to producing for the world. But I want to use Ayurveda because the West, in America, it's a recreational business. Medical has failed. They've not done anything in medical. There are 2 products. After billions of dollars or tens of billions of dollars invested, you have a bunch of stuff that makes you high, or chocolates, that is the innovation, which is nonsense. The innovation on medical, 2 products, Sativex and Epidiolex. But in Israel, they are completely focused on the medical side. We are completely focused on the medical side. So mark my words, I'm telling you, the future is India plus Israel. That is the future. We will own the world. Yeah.
So you're hoping that the situation will change in India and it will be adopted at a wide scale in the future.
It will be. So the thing is that, right? I mean, once we are able to condense it down to a clinically backed global product, and we are looking at ailments like epilepsy, we're looking at ailments like dementia, we're looking at ailments like cancer burn and stuff like that. Those are globally accepted. My feeling is that even if general legalization does not happen, they will legalize for ailments. So the government will take a compassionate view on specific ailments, whether it's epilepsy, pediatric epilepsy, or cancer. And that's a controlled ecosystem, which is why we are also building this tracking system so very accountable. Today, if the government says, Abhishek, aapne kahan pe bheja aap the last 3 years ka, nobody can provide you the data. Mine is on the blockchain and it's non-fungible. Nobody can change it. I'll give them the username and password. You say you can see wherever in the map of India where my products have gone. It will always be there. It'll be beyond my control. I cannot change it. I'm doing all of this because end of the day, cannabis needs to happen. It needs to solve problems. I don't care about the cannabis industry. I care about solving problems. And that needs cannabis. Now, if I have to put myself in a straitjacket and wear handcuffs and create a very specific tunnel that is tracked by the government for my product, I'll do it because that's what the patients need. And that's the reality of regulatory environment. The US, for example, has only state-wise legal. It's still federally illegal in America. Only 23 states have it. The other states like Texas and stuff, you'll get arrested. But some states you can smoke on the street and chill, smoke inside buildings. Other states you're going to get arrested. But in India, for medical, we are federally legal. I am in 25 states. Other than Canada, there is no country that's allowed that. So we have to appreciate India for what it is, and then figure out a way how you can be compliant. See, you can scream at the government and say, "Ye nahi ho raha hai, babus are doing this, whatever," but that's not going to help your cause, right? I mean, you want to solve a problem. Otherwise, you can wait for 15 years, and and by then, we'll have, patients will be gone. So I think the reality is we need to build for the world stage so that India realizes that, it is good for the industry as well. It's good for the patients, and that we can produce world-class research in India.
Right. So, what is the nature of your, recent partnership with European biopharma and phytocannabinoid company MCG Pharma?
So MGC is founded by some of the earliest top guys in medical cannabis from Israel and Australia. So essentially, we partner with them for their R&D. So they have a product for dementia, they have a product for epilepsy, and they have a clinically backed product called Artemic, which has received 100% success rate in a clinical trial in India and in Israel for repairing long COVID. So long COVID is, they say 30% of COVID sufferers in India, which is about 15 million people, suffer from long COVID. That means even after you've been cured from COVID, you slowly deteriorate, your lungs are deteriorating. So these guys have produced a mouth spray that has 100% success rate, and it is 100% plant-based, and it's without cannabis. So that's one of the, so they are at the top of their research game, and that's the partnership that we have with them. They will also help us to take to market our transdermal patch once it's ready. But more than anything, I wanted their intellectual property for the India market.
Right. So how do you look at the trends globally, in terms of medical cannabis, and what are the driving factors, which are driving this market?
So there's two, right? One is like CBD, for example. CBD today, I'd have to say this, and I always say this: CBD is a commercial decision. It is great. In America, it's great for calming you down or whatever else that you have for certain features. But CBD became this wonder drug that people are calling it because in America, it's the only thing legal in all states because it can be extracted from hemp, not from cannabis, from hemp and cannabis. So as a result, hemp is legal everywhere in the states. So they said CBD, let's make CBD something huge. While it's useful, it's not the wonder drug. Now they've invested so much in pushing CBD that's going to take a while before people realize that, hey, there's much more to cannabis than CBD. But in Israel, you'll see a lot of high tech coming out because these guys are very unemotional. They can take a U-turn anytime if it means good for research. So there'll be two movements. There'll be a massive recreational movement, which is already happening in the US. It'll happen in Western Europe. There'll be a medical movement driven by CBD in Germany and Western Europe, and potentially in the US. Then there will be what is actually good for the patient, which is whole plant. Whole plant, which we're seeing a clinical trial coming up in the UK. We will see whole plant from Ayurveda. Then you will see also the realization after COVID that people want something natural and sustainable, and that's Ayurveda. So we will see somewhere an undercurrent of like what is actually good for the patient. Is there some history? Can we look at something beyond CBD? And that's us.
So Abhishek, tell us what are your immediate plans for the company, let's say next 2-3 years, and where do you see yourself, your company in the next, let's say, 1 decade, after 1 decade?
After 1 decade, I think we will be a global player. I think we'll be kind of what Himalaya is. I think we'll be a Himalaya drug. In I would say cannabis, phytopharma. We would have a very, very deep connection with Israel, which I'm 100% committed to that. I knew that when I started the business that's where we needed to be. We'll have a joint R&D base in Israel, potentially in the US. But I think we will be the face of Ayurveda pharma in the world.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. It was really a pleasure to interact with you and really appreciate your time. From BioVoice and entire team of BioVoice, we wish you all the best for your future initiatives.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, and thanks for listening to us. Thank you.
Dear audience, thank you for listening, and we shall be back soon with the next episode of Face to Face with BioVoice News. This is Rahul Koul signing off. Thank you and goodbye.